don't go reaching for the orange juice. Don't go reaching for the syrupy sugar cold relief medicines. That's kind of the best way to make that cold last longer. Well, it's that time of year again when weekly we hear of a virus of the week. Those of you who have school-aged children know the fun of your child bringing home the bug of the week and passing it on to you. In the medical field, we call children fomites, and that basically means a vector for disease transmission, and it's that time of year. Fun fact, any guess why viruses are so prevalent in the winter months rather than in the summer months? It's because sunlight basically disappears for 5 or 6 months, and our vitamin D levels plummet. And I've talked on previous podcasts about the importance of vitamin D in fighting viral infections, among other things. So the next time you catch a cold, think about the reason you're more susceptible is, in fact, your vitamin D level is probably low. Now, when you catch a cold or develop a sore throat, there are alternatives. Now, most of us are running to the drugstore, and you probably have a bottle of NyQuil or some antihistamine available to you. If you haven't tried already, you'll know that trying to purchase an over-the-counter antihistamine is a very interesting experience because now they are behind the pharmacist, and you will more than likely have to show your driver's license and perhaps have 3 people stand up for your fine credibility as a human being. I'm just joking. The reason for that is, of course, that most antihistamines can be easily manufactured into methamphetamines. I'll leave it at there. But rather than reaching for those things, there's a lot of natural alternatives that will be better for you and work just as well, if not better. Just remember that products like cough suppressants or even cough lozenges usually contain large amounts of sugar. Now, let's be clear. Sugar is very soothing to a sore throat. And so the first temptation is, oh, my throat feels a lot better when I down that swallow of, we'll pick on NyQuil, but I'm not picking on them specifically. But we have to realize that sugar is one of the best ways to suppress the function of our immune system that anyone has ever discovered. And I've mentioned already that there's a very famous study in human beings, having human beings drink an 8-ounce glass of orange juice and then looking at the function of their white blood cells, whether their white blood cells can actually eat bacteria or viruses. And the white blood cell function was suppressed for about 6 hours following that glass of orange juice. So don't go reaching for the orange juice. Don't go reaching for the syrupy sugar cold relief medicines. That's kind of the best way to make that cold last longer, which is not exactly what you want. There are some really good topical products out there that I'm quite fond of. The first one is called Quercetin. It's usually available as a spray, but they also make lozenges. But be careful, you have to look for the sugar content. Now, I used to be a professional singer in college, and I can tell you from personal experience that we always traveled with Quercetin, because it is an actual really good topical anesthetic for a sore throat. And we had very good use for it. But there are other very good anti-inflammatory, antihistamine products. One of my favorites is Quercetin, sometimes pronounced Quercetin. This is kind of a yellow substance that's very common in the peels of apples, in onions, and in the white pith of citrus. Quercetin has been shown to be a very effective antihistamine, with the benefit is, unlike other antihistamines, it does not make you sleepy. The other very potent antihistamine that's a natural compound is rosemary. So you could chew rosemary leaves. They are certainly pungent and be just like the acciarolis in the south of Italy, who have more people over the age of 100 years of age than any town in the world. In fact, about 30% of the population is 100 years or over. And the experience with those people is that one of the factors in their longevity is the fact that they cook with rosemary and chew rosemary throughout the day. Now, you don't have to chew rosemary. You can actually buy rosemary capsules. So I personally take quercetin and rosemary whenever I want relief of a runny nose. And it works. Rosemary and quercetin are both antimicrobial, which may benefit as well. Now, there are antioxidants that support immune health. Black cumin oil, or black seed oil, is getting a lot of popularity recently, and it is a useful way of getting antibacterial, antiviral compounds into you. It's traditionally been used to fight respiratory infection. Similarly, oregano oil. Oregano oil has numerous antimicrobial properties, and I use oregano oil in some of my patients who develop parasitic infections in their gut, and there's good evidence of its effectiveness. Now, however, both of these compounds, black seed oil and oregano oil, are very potent antimicrobial agents. That means they do kill bacteria as well as parasites and viruses. And you got to be careful about chronically taking these because, yes, they're very effective in a short term, but long-term use may begin to compromise your own microbiome. So use them with a short period of time in mind. Finally, you've probably seen sambuca or black currant supplements. They're pretty expensive, but they do have vitamin C, and it's been shown to boost your immune system and can be very effective against combating colds. So these are just a few of the natural products that are available to you. Now, what about good old-fashioned methods? The saltwater gargle. Back in the dark ages when I was a kid, that's about all we had. And quite frankly, saltwater gargles work. What you do is you put about a teaspoon of salt into warm water and you gargle it. And you do that several times a day. The salt has many interesting properties. First of all, warm salt water absolutely positively soothes your throat. But salt water, salt in particular, has actually very impressive antibacterial properties. You may recall or may know that salt was one of the original preservatives for meat, or even for vegetables. And that's because of the antibacterial properties that salt has. The Japanese use huge amounts of salt in pickling their vegetables, in preserving their meats. And salt, lots of salt, has some really bad features. But gargling with salt water has absolutely stood the test of time. Salt water can also thin mucus. And as you know, much of the mischief of getting a cold or sore throat is actually from that thick mucus dripping down the back of your throat from your nose. And helping to break up mucus is one of the benefits of salt and saltwater gargles. So it's an oldie but a goodie, and it's time to break it out. Now, there are a number of sugar-free lozenges. First of all, stay away from any of the lozenges that have sugar, and most of them do. Again, sugar feels soothing, but the last thing you want when you have either a bacterial infection or a viral infection is to consume extra sugar. In fact, just the opposite. There are some sugar-free lozenges, Some of them are herbal-based, some of them are menthol or eucalyptus-based. There actually are some published studies that menthol actually does significantly reduce throat discomfort and provide symptomatic relief. So don't be afraid of a eucalyptus or menthol-based lozenge, but please look for sugar-free. Now, as you know, sugar-free does not necessarily mean safe. And I like you to look for the words sucralose or Splenda. That's a no-no. Splenda actually really reduces the microbiome diversity. Studies out of Duke a number of years ago said that 1 packet of sucralose is enough to wipe out 50% of your bacteria in your gut. There are definitely better alternatives, and they're getting better with every passing year. There are now some allulose-based lozenges. There's certainly lozenges with stevia available. Some of the erythritol and or maltitol, xylitol lozenges are safe for short-term use. So all of these are options. The other nice thing about lozenges, which may not be apparent, but these things are slowly dissolved in your mouth, and you produce a lot of saliva during that process. And saliva in itself is very soothing to the throat. And so that's another really good option. Now, finally, hot tea. Now, hot tea plus a little bit of honey is a great way to soothe your throat. Tea has a large number of polyphenols. Tea has theanine and a little bit of caffeine, but tea has been shown to really soothe the throat. Now, what I don't want you to do is put tablespoon after tablespoon after tablespoon in honey, thinking if a little is good, more is better. Once again, honey is sugar. And there are some studies, particularly with Manuka honey from Australia, showing that that particular honey does have antibacterial properties. But again, more is not necessarily better. Now, luckily, Manuka honey is available in many stores. It's often in Trader Joe's. So a teaspoon of Manuka honey in hot tea is a great way, but don't dump the jar in. Ginger and turmeric tea also have analgesic effects. That means it soothes your throat. Finally, drinking tea is a way to stay hydrated, and warm tea is a way of getting lots more water into you. And the more hydration you have, once again, the more thinner that mucus becomes, and the easier it is to get rid of it, cough it up. So these are all great natural alternatives to going to the drugstore and getting that syrupy stuff that I know you're going to go look for and that you see on the TV all the time. Try to stay away from that. It's only going to prolong your misery, not shorten it. More amazing episodes just like this one. Watch now.
I believe that if people go on a gut repair program and then maintain it like that, we would eliminate a huge percentage of the chronic diseases that America and the world is suffering from.